Okay, Collision. Okay, I got some questions for you guys. How do you feel about Collision? Does Collision feel like a great show to you? Now, it's not about if this episode is great, because it had good matches, some great matches. This is not about that. I'm making it clear so you understand. Sometimes people don't always understand what's being spoken. Not saying you're dumb. I'm just saying that you're talking about, it was great, it was fine. No, I'm not talking about the individual episode. I'm talking about Collision in general. Was Collision great? Is Collision great? Now, I'm going to repeat this again when I finish through the show. Opening, blue match. Well, blue league. Andrade versus Claudio Castagnoli. Now, Claudio's still pissed off because of how the match between Andrade and, well, Bryan Danielson had their match, and that he was digging at he was trying to rip his eye apart. So Claudio didn't take that very well. He took offense to it. So that's what this match was really about. More than just being in a tournament, he wanted to get back at Andrade for what he did to Bryan Danielson. Good match. It wasn't a bad match. But here's the thing. You wonder where they're going with Andrade and Lidio. Because I would have expected Andrade to win here, but he did not. He lost to Claudio. Now, it doesn't mean he's out of the tournament yet. I don't believe so. I don't remember how many matches I know Claudio now has I don't know if he has 12 points. No, he has 8 or 9. I think he's got 9 points now at this point. Claudio. I think he got 9 points. So, or is it 12? I can't remember. 9 or 12 points. But the point is that I would expect Andrade to win this, and since Claudio has lost very little, I think he could have gone to the next match. But they are very close to World's End, so that's how they're doing it right now. But I don't know what they're going to do with Andrade. I'm kind of concerned about it. Now, the next match that we got here was a match I was like, wait, really? But then at the end, I'm going like, oh, they wanted to bring it back that way. Why? That's what I thought. Abaddon versus Allure. I believe her name is Allure. Let me give it to like this. I have not seen Abaddon for months, and then all of a sudden she comes back on TV. I thought it was because she was just on ROH TV, but in actuality she was injured, so she just came back. Fine. Am I interested in Abaddon? No. She was barely around. She was barely on Dynamite, and before Collision even came into being, if you're not on Dynamite, you don't be seen unless you're going to start doing what most people are told to do and go look at Honor Club, which is like, I don't even remember how many dollars Honor Club is because I haven't been watching. I'm just telling you, Abaddon don't have an interest because she's not a priority. Now, particularly it's understandable, even worse, that she just came back and now they're pushing her, but then you don't feel anything for her because guess what? They haven't done a vignette of her. This is one thing nobody wants to talk about. Vignettes mean something. You have to be introduced or reintroduced. Because if you've been gone almost 10 months and you weren't even shown much in the beginning, where are you? Who are you? And in this situation, Allure, I didn't even know who she was. I remember her and one of the matches she had, but I didn't care. I didn't care about either one of these girls. Now, Abaddon won, but get this. She decided she wanted to really emphasize she wants Julia came out anyway. Dark came light, and there's Julia facing her dead to rights, and then she almost annihilated Julia Hart, which makes it harder to even care about Julia Hart when she shouldn't be like that. Then Sky Blue comes out of nowhere and then helps Julia Hart, which makes no sense because after all this time, Julia Hart and Sky Blue should have already settled that before the triple threat between Sky Blue, Julia Hart, and Chris Statlander. Because months before, it should have already been settled and it wasn't. So it made it even more confusing. Now, What made this interesting was Thunder Rosa. She was on commentary. Now, I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't have Spanish commentary. After the match was over and Sky Blue started helping Julia Hart, she jumps into the ring and then she starts fighting with Abaddon. Now we know Abaddon is going to have a match with Thunder Rosa, which when she rolled into the ring, I knew immediately she's cleared. Anybody would realize if she's rolling into the ring and she starts laying a hand on somebody, she's cleared. Now she's back, and now she will have her first match, I believe, on Dynamite at, what is it? What was it? Holiday End? I don't remember the name of it, what they're going to call it this Wednesday. Holiday's End? Or Holiday, well, I can't remember. It's not Holiday End, it's just Holiday End, I believe. But you decide to bring back Thunder Rosa. This is the thing that I'm going, why? You're bringing back Thunder Rosa, not in a special type of way. You're not bringing her back to try and mess with a Chris Statlander, maybe, since she's a former champion. You're not trying to mess with Julia Hart makes sense, but like this? You wonder what's the point? It just seems so nonchalant. I'm sorry. It's like it's not a priority to the creative team, Tony. To the creative team of AEW that instead of bringing back everyone has been wanting Thunder Rosa to come back. They've been waiting for her to come back. They've been hoping next to her coming back that she's not going to have pain in her back and that she can feel the legs again, which hopefully she can. She's able to wrestle again. But couldn't you bring her back better than this? Using Abaddon and Allure and Sky Blue? I can understand she's going to try and mess with Julia Hart, but couldn't you have done it better? I think they could have done something better than this. They could have done something better. You could have used somebody else. Hell, you could have used Kiera. No. Red Velvet wouldn't have made any sense. Kiera Hogan wouldn't have made any sense because they don't even show them on TV. Generally on Dynamite or Collision. Maybe Rampage, but you get my point. Okay. Let's get a couple of these backstage segments done. The Acclaimed segment talking about they're angry because they got destroyed by the devil and his friends. They want revenge. Now, one of the Acclaimed, you already know who it is, does not trust MJF anymore. They just want to get back at them. But you get Top Flight and Action Andretti together, and they want the Trios titles, which many people are wondering where the hell is the Acclaimed, even though they were destroyed weeks upon weeks ago. You wonder what they're doing with the Trios titles. You wonder what they're doing with the tag titles. Well, you're going to do something with the Trios titles, but the question is going to be, is it going to be interesting with Top Flight, Action Andretti, with the Acclaimed? Because is there going to be a build-up to it? I don't think so. Is it just going to be a match in a couple of weeks? Probably. And that doesn't feel comfortable to me personally. There's no story. FTR calls, if you saw my Final Battle, you saw how rough they had it. When it came to Cash and Dash, they got their asses whooped. Dash eye is still messed up across here. He's got it black here. It is messed up. But they call out the House of Black. And I'm going like, wait a minute. They're calling the House of Black after that match? Wouldn't it have been better to capitalize on what you just did on Final Battle and talk about doing something else and let the House of Black bother you then? I don't know. I'm just saying, it just seems like, yes, they've been having battles with the House of Black, but wouldn't it have been better that they said they're going to move on and something's going to be great for them in 2024, and then the House of Black messes with them? But what they talk about here, and this is House of Black, because it's Buddy Matthews saying, we have no hate for you. We're trying to help you. Look what happened, what we told you. And this is what, and I'm wondering if Malachi Black is all right now, or if he's still frustrated with his creative direction. Because honestly, what do we got here? having the House of Black talk about wanting FTR to join them, trying to fuck with Dash Wheeler, saying that no one cares about him, but Dax Hardwood is the one they care about, and then Dax, there's no one there for you, your wife and daughter is not going to be there, and then they burn a picture of his wife, daughter, and him, and they run into the back, where we probably know they're not even back there. Now, you wonder, where is this going? Are they really going there, trying to try this again? Because they did try this once before, trying to have someone join. And I'm going like, I don't know if this is going to work. And should it work? What is the House of Black doing? Trying to recruit FTR? And would it mean anything? I don't think so. Next, my taste is Tony Storm, baby. Ooh, yes. Oof. My taste is Tony Storm with Hannah May and trying to make it clear that Rio, who now supposedly is having a match against Saraya next week to see who's going to be champ, to face a champ. Why? Why are they doing a Rio versus Saraya match? Wouldn't it have been better that Saraya would just go after her anyway because she used to be part of the Outcast? Why haven't they tried to build up Saraya with Timeless Tony Storm, my Tasteless Tony Storm? Why didn't they do that in the very beginning? Why now you're using Riho as the catalyst for Saraya possibly winning that match and becoming number one contender to go against a Tony Storm at World's End? Why didn't they do this earlier? Why? Was it because Saraya wasn't there? I didn't hear any reports that Saraya was injured. What? I don't understand. You guys tell me below. Tell me. I don't understand. Let's move on to the International Championship. Orange Cassidy against Brian Keefe, the bounty hunter. Now, I have seen him once before. I believe I saw him at MLW more than a year ago. At least once. I saw him maybe at MLW, I think. Either at MLW or NWA. At either the pay-per-view I did last year or on MLW when I did do kind of like an overview of episode, what was it again? I think 150, 152 or something. When I looked at MLW and I think I saw him there. I can't even remember. He had an interesting look. He's wearing a poncho, not a poncho. I don't remember what they call those things. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know what we got here. There was no build into it. It was after he had his match with, what was it? The Survivor of the Fittest match, which he was in. And all of a sudden, Orange Cassidy said, "You want gold? Come at it." And I said this in my review. No build up. It's just a match. You couldn't even put on Dynamite? Couldn't you make it important? No. It was just another flat out match. Which wasn't a bad match, but it's not the point. No story. No build. Nothing. And Orange won. And I'm going like, wait, really? Really? Wouldn't it have been better that Orange go up against a real opponent? Who would be best to do it? I know that people said Kateska should be the one who did it, and he's working in tag teams on RH or Rampage TV. And I'm going like, what? Where's Powerhouse Hobbs? Wouldn't it be good for Powerhouse Hobbs to get the International Championship if Kateska is not available? What? I'm going like, oh, it's making my eyes itch and my head scalp itch. I'm going like, why? I don't understand. Moving on. We get to, well, no, back it up. A Texas street fight. A Texas street fight. I didn't care. It's not the match quality was bad. It wasn't. Seeing that Chris Statlander and a Willow Nightingale coming out dressed like a Men in Black because they're about to have a street fight and they wanted to look fancy, I'm fine with it. They came out with a briefcase that had, what was it, thumbtacks in it. Fine. But then I'm going like, who are they going up against? Is it someone that we haven't seen? Good. No. Diamante and Eminem. Mercedes Martinez. That's what I call it, Eminem. What? Didn't they finish their feud months ago? I didn't even know they were still feuding. So that means if this is not being done on Rampage or Collision, this is from RH. And no one's seen them even have any promo segments, any backstage segments, any interviews individually. Nothing. We just know they have an issue because of what the commentator said briefly, and then they start having a fight. And I'm going like, I know I haven't seen a lot of Collision, and I know I haven't seen a lot of ROH TV, but if you're going to put these women on here and say this is a feud when it's not shown on Dynamite, no mention on Dynamite, no mention on Collision, which is supposed to be two of your most important shows, not ROH and not Rampage, how do you get invested? It's not about the match quality. The faces won. Statlander won. It wasn't a Willow Nightingale who was thrown through a table by Eminem. It was Chris Statlander, who's not doing anything. I'm just like, really? Okay. The last two matches, both having actual stories. One, that is Eddie Kingston, and this is the stronger of the two stories. Understand, this is the stronger of the two stories that we have at the end of the show. Eddie Kingston and Daniel Garcia in the blue bracket of the Blue League. Here it is. Either one of them, if they lost, they're out. Eddie particularly will lose a lot more than Daniel Garcia because he will be losing the New Japan Pro Strong title and the ROH title, along with trying to get the Continental Championship. He will lose everything. All of it. So it was more important for him, who, understand, he is still so over with the fans. In Texas and everywhere he goes, there are people still cheering for Eddie Kingston. A guy that I still believe that when CM Punk was injured and before the scrum, and then after the scrum, they could have turned to him and could have done something with him after he came back from his suspension. He had a problem with a Sammy Guevara. He had a problem with Sammy. He was willing to take the problem of that, getting suspended, came back, and he'd been good all that time. They couldn't do something with him when they need somebody there instead of just using Mox when they know how popular he still is. I didn't know who was going to win because of how the booking's been for a Eddie Kingston and a Mark Briscoe. Mark's out already, but I think he still has one more match. I think he's done, but I think he has one more match, and that's it. He was never going to win. Instead of them doing something special with Mark, they put him in there so he would just be a body. And as you already know, and I've already said it now twice, no matter, even if he gets frustrated, he has to stay in the company because he needs money for his nieces. Because they probably still haven't fully recovered after a year, and they probably still need possible surgeries, therapy, and medicines. So if anybody says he needs to leave, he's not going to leave as long as they pay him. He must stay. And if he leaves and goes to where he's not even going to come close to the money he's getting now, he's fucking stupid. Because I don't think he is. But when it comes to Eddie, I'm like, do I believe they're actually going to do something with Eddie? I don't know. I don't know. So we had the match. Good match. And seeing that a Magic, Daddy Magic is there. Nanar. Trying to hype up a Daniel Garcia. It's fine. He's his hype man. In the end, Daniel lost. Fine. No problem. It's perfectly alright. It needed to happen. But now you see Eddie Kingston's able to progress to the next round. But you don't know if he's going to make it all or not. But the story for Eddie Kingston is the best one here. Here's the second one. And it's Brody King versus a Bryan Danielson. Now, they did talk about Brody Lee. I want to make this clear. They mentioned Brody Lee's birthday was today. He would be 44 years old? And he's been dead for 3 years. I can't believe it's been that long. I can't believe it's been gone for 3 years, Brody Lee. But at least they didn't mention him, but they didn't want to do any tribute to him. And I think they could have at least shown, and unless I missed it, they could have at least shown a picture of him very beginnings of at least Collision, just to remember him, saying happy birthday, Brody. I don't know if it was there because I did miss the first couple of minutes, first 45 seconds to a minute, because I did start watching it a little late, about a minute afterward. So if there was something, I might have missed it. But this was the second best match and the second best story, because you don't know what's going to happen with Bryan Danielson, particularly with over the bone socket might still be healing. He's already gotten a cut over his eye due to the fact of the 6-man tag that turned into Death Before Dishonor match on a final battle last night. So he isn't fully recovered. He's still got a cut on his body and cut on his eye. And we have this match, which was extremely brutal. And Brody King, raking that eye to make it bleed. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Do I want to see Bryan Danielson in this type of condition? No. I kind of wish he hadn't come back so soon. I don't think he's fully recovered when it comes to his eye. He may be able to see through it and the eye socket has healed, but I think it would have been better if he just stayed away for a little bit longer, or at least stayed in the back or managed maybe Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, or even Mox doesn't usually need a manager, but I think the reason I'm botching is because I think he could stay away from being in the ring for a little while to give himself a little more time to recover. But we haven't gotten that. He just slaps a cap on his eye and just keeps going. I can understand he wants to keep wrestling until his time is finished, when his daughter turns, I think, 8. And then he retires completely and maybe works in the back of AEW, which there's no problem with it. I would not have a problem with him retiring and working in either creative or the talent aspects of AEW. They need it. I wouldn't mind him doing full time, and he wouldn't have to put stress on his body. He can still be part of the wrestling business. I think that's the best thing for him. But here, when you see how he is, and his face is a mess, and maybe in the thumbnail that I'll be making, no, I think I better not do a thumbnail, because a bloody thumbnail may give me age restriction, even if I don't make any money here. I don't want to be age restricted. But seeing that he really needed more time to recover, he looked really tired and he looked really messed up. He worked his ass off, but you could tell that he was still tired from last night. And honestly, it hurt the match. It doesn't mean it hurt it completely. The match was here. It was here. And it could have been a little bit more here. I'm just saying for me personally. But in the end, he did win and he's moving forward. And Brody Lee, I'm saying Brody Lee instead. I think I really missed Brody Lee. But Brody King, who's still wearing his cast and raked that eye, like I said, and then licked the blood, and they call him you sick fuck. I can understand it. I understand it, but honestly, let's make this clear. I really do believe this, and this is me, and this is what I said about anyone who watched the beginning of this, asked you a question. Is Collision great or good? Because as it stands, it's missing the most important thing. It's missing direction. It just has no direction. It has no direction. There are no promos barely for the people that we barely see. And the matches are fine, but no development for any women characters except for maybe one or two. Actually one, and that is My Taste is Toni Storm. The Acclaim got a interview along with Andretti and Top Flight, but that's not enough. It feels like there's just no direction. It feels like characters are not developed. There's no direction for either the one who is the head of Collision, and there is no head. as I said before, when it comes to Adam Copeland, he can't do it yet. He just doesn't have it. No one's saying they don't love the former Edge. But do you really feel that Adam Copeland is important to AEW? No, because they haven't had enough time to build him up to make him like that. Him coming in from leaving WWE immediately, that's not a surprise. People are still on that wave, but right now we're about to go in 2024, and shouldn't he be here? And he's here. And don't get me wrong, the story with him and Christian, it's still going to be a great story, particularly when he wins the title. And he did say that it's a no disqualification match or anything goes match that's supposed to happen at World's End. He wants that damn title. He said he desires it. I got no problem with it. But then he's here. And Collision needs someone who's here. He hasn't been here long enough to get here. And Collision needs someone there badly. That's the reason why I said maybe they should build up Eddie Kingston and make it and surround it about Eddie. Maybe Claudio and Castagnoli. They could have made it about Claudio. They didn't need to get rid of the straight edge title or the real world title. They could have just stripped it off of CM Punk and then do a tournament for Collision so they had someone there focus on just Collision. And it's just not there. But it's just me. Peace.